Hello there, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining me. To say it's been a little bit of a while since I've actually did a live like this, so I just want to take the opportunity first to greet everyone in the chat, as always. Just to thank people for coming before I get into it. Hello there, sweetie. Thank you for coming. Adam Cravoisier, workers today. Just wanted to stop by and say hello and drop a thumbs up. Same to you, my friend. Thank you. Here we go. Suzanne, good to see you. Thank you for coming. Tommy, no problem, my friend. So hopefully you enjoy listening while you're doing what you're doing. Thank you. Mr. Stiggs, good to see you, my man. Thank you for coming. Okay. And here we go. Janie, great to see you as always. Thank you. So as I know that in the little community, I spoke to a few people and I just wanted to do a little live to cover on the history of great British pubs. And I want to get going into that. I'll just sort of give you an overview. As I say, there will be questions. Please feel free to obviously drop questions in the chat. But before I get going, I just want to get started. So here we go. Hello there, everyone, and we're back, and we're going to get into it. Hello there, Maureen. Thank you for coming. I hope you're all well and good. So yes, so we're going to start off. So it's the history of British and English pubs and inns. So it's notoriously known all over the world. The Great British Pub. It's not just a place to drink beer, wine, or cider, or even something a little bit stronger, but it's also a unique social centre. You know, very often the focus of community life in villages, towns and cities throughout the length and breadth of the country. So, as it appears that great British pubs actually started, Tommy, you might know this, as a great Italian wine bar. And it dates back almost 2,000 years. Yes, it was an invading Roman army that first brought Roman roads, Roman towns, and Roman pubs, known as tavernae, to these shores, in 43 AD. So such tavernae, or shops that sold wine, were quickly built alongside Roman roads and in towns to help quench the thirst of the legionary troops. Now, it was ale that was the native British brew. And it appears that these taverns quickly adapted to provide the locals with their favourite tipple, with the word eventually being corrupted to tavern. Okay, so these taverns and alehouses not only survived but continued to adapt to an ever-changing clientele through the invading Angles, the Saxons, the Jutes, also as well, not forgetting the Scandinavian Vikings. You got the Normans. The Anglo-Saxon King Edgar even attempted to limit the number of alehouses in any one village. So he is also said to be responsible for introducing a drinking measure known as the peg, as a means of controlling the amount of alcohol an individual can consume, hence the expression to take someone down a peg or two. I didn't know that, so that is interesting. So that was Anglo-Saxon King Edgar. So taverns and alehouses provided food and drink to their guests, whilst inns offered accommodation for weary travellers. These could include merchants, court officials, pilgrims travelling to and from religious shrines, as immortalised, that was mentioned if you've ever read the book in the Canterbury Tales. Now, inns also served military purposes. One of the oldest dating from 1189 AD is the Ye Old Trip to Jerusalem in Nottingham, and is said to have acted as a recruitment centre for volunteers to accompany King Richard I, the Lionheart, on his crusade to the Holy Lands. Now, alehouses and inns collectively became known as public houses, and then simply as pubs around the reign of King Henry VI. Now, a little later in 1552, an act was passed that required innkeepers to have a licence in order to run a pub. Now, by the 1577, they would reckon, or they estimate that there were around some 17,000 alehouses, 2,000 inns, and 400 taverns throughout England and Wales. Now, taking into account the population of the period, that would equate to around one pub for every 200 persons. To put that in context, that ratio today would approximately be one pub for every 1,000 people. Not bad, is it? Now, throughout history, beer and ale have always formed a part of the staple British diet, the brewing process itself making it a much safer option than drinking the water of the times. Although both coffee and tea were introduced into Britain around the mid-1600s, their prohibitive prices ensured that they remained the preserve of the rich and famous. So just a few decades later, however, things changed dramatically when cheap spirits such as brandy from France and gin from Holland hit the shelves of the pubs. The social problems caused by the gin era of 1720 to 1750 are recorded in the Hogarth's Gin Lane. Now, the Gin Acts of 1736 and 1751 reduced gin consumption to a quarter of its previous level and returned some semblance of order back to the pubs. Now, the age of the stagecoach heralded yet another new era for the pubs of the time, as coaching inns were established on strategic routes up and down across the country. Such inns provided food, drink and accommodation for passengers and crew alike, as well as changes of fresh horses for their continued journey. Now, the passengers themselves generally consisted of two distinct groups: the more affluent, who could afford the relative luxury of travelling inside the coach, and the other who would be left clinging onto the outside for dear life. Now, the insiders would, of course, receive the warmest greetings and be welcomed into the innkeeper's private parlour or saloon. The outsiders, meanwhile, would get no further than the inn's barroom. Now, the age of the stagecoach, although relatively short-lived, did establish the precedents for the class distinctions that was continued in rail travel from 1840s onward. Now, like the railways that operated at first, second and third class services, so the pubs evolved in a similar manner. Pubs of that time, even relatively small ones, would typically be split into several rooms and bars in order to cater for different types of classes of customers. Now, in today's open plan society, such walls have been removed, and now anyone and everyone is welcome into the Great British Pub. So welcome, in fact, that almost 1 in 4 Britons will now meet their future wife or husband in a pub. Okay. Now, the native British brew of ale was originally made without hops. Ale brewed with hops was gradually introduced in the 14th and 15th centuries. This was known as beer, and by 1550, most brewing included hops, and the expression alehouse and beerhouse became synonymous. Today, beer is the general term, with bitter mild ales, stouts and lagers simply denoting different types of beer. Now, many thanks to the English country inns, so they've obviously been able to take this further, and that's where we now get more variety, obviously, in our beers, from our stouts to our ales to our lagers, and that is obviously engineered over in time. So what I will say is this: now, in the early 17th century, okay, So some of the coaching inns we had were opening were coaching inns. Now they were instigated by the existence of the stagecoach era, as I was mentioning, in which horse-drawn carriages and carry passengers and light packages on long journeys before the introduction of the steam-powered rail transportation. Now, these particular inns were instilled on established routes up and down the country, as I said, providing food, drink, and accommodation for the passengers, stables, and staff to accommodate horses and supply of fresh horses as for when required. Now, English pubs began to increase in numbers. So during the 1800s, there was a huge growth in the number of drinking establishments in Great Britain. I say gin was introduced by onto the isle by the Dutch, followed by the creation of thousands of gin shops. Brewers fought back with the increase in alehouses, causing a constantly growing supply of alcoholic amenities. With lower duties on gin, it became the drink of choice for many British citizens. Its strength contributed to higher rates of alcoholism, crime, and that would now be deemed as antisocial behaviour. So, there was, as I mentioned earlier, there was the Gin Act, and the Act allowed any homeowner to pay rates to apply to sell and brew beer and cider in his own home. Now, with beer, then viewed as harmless, even nutritious and healthy, it was much safer to drink than tap water at the time. Spirits and fortified wines were prohibited, as was trading on a Sunday. With such low start-up costs and such high profit margins, the uptake was widespread and owners became able to buy neighbouring properties within which to live, enabling the entire original house to be used to accommodate their customers. Now, the following years saw the number of these beer houses grow rapidly, reaching almost 50,000 in less than a decade. Now, by 1869, it was decided that the growth needed to be managed, resulting into the introduction of new licensing laws, which established the regime which is used to govern our English pubs today. Okay, so I'm going to take the opportunity now. I'm going to go and cover some of the legendary historic pubs in Great Britain. So we'll do a bit of a show and tell. Okay. So just bear with me while I share my screen. Okay. Hopefully we can all see that. Right. Okay. So you can see there, this is the Eagle and Child. Now, historic pubs in the UK are more than just places to grab a pint. They are living museums of British culture and history, and from centuries old coaching inns to tucked away taverns in city alleys, these establishments have witnessed royal visits, inspired literary giants, and hosted notorious outlaws. The allure of the historic pubs UK lies in their ability to transport you to another era. Each creaking floorboard and smoke dark beams has a story to tell, making famous British pubs an integral part of the national heritage. Now, as I say, I'm going to explore and go through some of these places. So whether you're tracing your footsteps of Charles Dickens in a legendary UK pub or raising a tankard where knights and highwaymen once drank, visiting these pubs is like stepping back into a time machine. And from London's watering holes to rustic village inns in Wales and Scotland, each pub featured as a unique chance for us to step into living history, enjoy and engaging in the journey through the old houses. So, okay, let's go. Bear with me. Okay. That's where I wanted to start. So hopefully, let's take the time there. Oh, look, it's his former mental hospital. Right, okay. So now we should see, bear with me. I'm going to go through each of these, just having a little technical problem. Right, let's start again. Share screen, window. I just want you to make sure that you see it properly when I'm trying to. Right. You got it? There we are. Brilliant. Right. So this is the old Cheshire cheese. Oh, thank you, Suzanne. Okay, the old Cheshire cheese. This is in London. So it's Fleet Street, one of London's most iconic historic pubs. The old Cheshire cheese and Fleet Street dates back to the 16th century, and it was rebuilt in 1667 after the Great Fire of London. Now it's tucked away down a narrow alley. Its dimly lit interior boasts oak panelling, open fireplaces, and vaulted cellars throughout, thought to belong to the 13th century monastery. The lack of natural light and maze of gloomy rooms give it an atmosphere unchanged by time. Okay, now walking inside truly feels like entering the 17th century. Plaques by the bar, a list of many famous figures who frequented the Grade 2 listed tavern. Now, notable patrons for this place is best known for its sort of literary associations, having welcomed a who's who of writers over the centuries. One of the most famous, Charles Dickens, was a regular and even set a scene in A Tale of Two Cities here. Other reputed patrons included satirist Oliver Goldsmith, poet Alfred Tennyson, mystery writer Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, humorist P.G. Wodehouse, and American author Mark Twain. Dr. Samuel Jackson lived nearby and likely visited as well. So there's quite a few old famous names there. With such a roster of greats, it's no surprise that the pub still exudes a bookish charm. You can easily imagine victorious scribes debating ideas over pints of ale. In fact, the pub is mentioned in works by Dickens, Stevenson, Wodehouse, and more, cementing its place in history. There is even an old legend about a ghost, the midwife's ghost of ballad of 1680, haunting the pub, adding a dash of folklore to its mystique. Okay, so the next one. So this is the Eagle and Child. This is in Oxford, sorry. So it was affectionately nicknamed the Bird and Baby. It's renowned for its connection to a famous circle, operating since the 17th century. So it was first mentioned by name in 1684. This Grade 2 listed building sits on St. Giles in Oxford and exudes old-fashioned cosy charm with its low ceilings and narrow passages. The pub's quirky name and sign depicting the child carried off by an eagle come from a local legend and crest of the Earls of Derby. But what truly puts the Eagle and Child on the map of famous British pubs is its role as the meeting place of the Inklings Writers Group. Now, notable patrons from the late 1930s through to the 1940s hosted, it had a back room, it's got back room, and it hosted informal lunchtime gatherings of some legendary minds, C.S. Lewis and J.A.R. Tolkien, along with fellow Inklings like Charles Williams and Owen Barfield. Now, they met here every week to discuss and swap stories. Imagine the conversations that echoed in these walls. Chapters of Lord of the Rings and the Chronicles of Narnia and the doubtless debate over pints. Hello, Crewmel. Good to see you. Thank you for coming. Yeah. It was here in 1950 that Lewis first distributed proofs of The Lion and the Witch of the Wardrobe to his friends. The pub proudly displays memorabilia of the Inklings era, including photos and letters allowing visitors to feel the creative spirit that once filled the snug. Earlier in its long history, the pub was owned by the Oxford College, and local law suggests it served as an inn for travellers as far back as the English Civil War, but its 20th century legacy shines brightest. So the next one. So this is the Spaniards Inn. This is in Hampstead, which is North London. So it's perched on the edge of London's Hampstead Heath. The Spaniards Inn is a 16th century pub brimming with romance, intrigue and lore. Built in 1585 as a tollgate inn on the old road to London, this whitewashed tavern has hardly changed in centuries. Now it's named after a Spanish ambassador who supposedly lived there in James I's time, and it's a Grade 2 listed building It retains low wooden beams and a charming wood-like panelled interior. Outside a verdant beer garden, and it provides a tranquil retreat in summer. Famously, poet John Keats is said to have penned his book, which was the Ode to a Nightingale, under a tree here. With its rustic ambience and storied past, the Spaniards Inn feels delightfully removed from the bustle of modern London. So, notable patrons. Now, the pub history reads like an adventure novel. Now, notorious highwayman Dick Turpin is thought to have been a regular here. Local legend claims Turpin was born here, as his father was once the landlord, and at the very least we know that the 18th century highwayman frequented the area and likely used the inn as a lookout for stagecoaches on the Finchley Road. Now, in 1780, during the Gordon riots, the inn's landlord cleverly placated an angry mob by offering free ale until authorities arrived, saving nearby Kenwood House from attack. Now, figures have also left their mark. Charles Dickens immortalised the Spaniards in the Pickwick Papers, and Bram Stoker references one of the inn's ghost tales in Dracula. So, as I say, this one's got quite a bit about it, this pub. So the next one. Now this one, I know this one quite well. Now this is the George Inn in Southwark. Okay. Now this is hidden down a cobbled courtyard just off Borough High Street. The George Inn is a rare architectural gem, the only surviving gallery coaching inn in London. Grade 1 listed pub dates back to the medieval period, first mentioned in the 1540s, and was rebuilt in 1677 after a fire. In its heyday, the George was bustling inn yard where coaches would arrive and depart, and travellers lodged overnight in the upstairs rooms. Remarkably, it still retains its glorious two-level galleries overlooking the courtyard, and an evocative sight instantly transports you into 17th century London. Okay, now its notable patrons. Yeah, that's right. So they were there. They were there, Suzanne. Now, the George Inn has hosted countless figures, but one of the most famous, William Shakespeare, lived and worked in Southwark because the Globe Theatre was nearby, and it's believed that he likely visited the George or its predecessor. Indeed, Elizabethan theatrical troupes performed in inns like this, using the inn yard as a stage, while Shakespeare's visits remain the stuff of speculation. One giant we know for certain drank here is Charles Dickens again. Dickens visited the George and mentioned it by naming his novel Little Dorrit, giving the inn a cherished place in literature. In fact, one of the indoor bars today was once the coffee room frequented by Dickens, and you can still sit in the Parliament bar or the Middle bar where he took his drink. Okay, next one. So this is The Old Trip to Jerusalem. Now this is based in Nottingham, as you can see. Its date is 1189 AD. So carved into the sandstone cliff beneath the Nottingham Castle, The Old Trip to Jerusalem claims to be England's oldest pub, with the legendary founding year of 1189 AD. Now, whether or not it can prove that exact date, there's no doubt this Grade 2 listed is ancient and extraordinary, right? Now, the pub's quirky names come from the idea that it was a stopping point for the Crusaders' knights on their trip to the Holy Land. Stepping inside, you immediately notice why the pub is unique. Several of its rooms were actually caves hollowed from the rock and once used as a castle brewhouse. Winding passages connect snug cave-like bars with low ceilings. Historical artifacts adorn the walls, and there is a wishing well and an old cockfighting pit on display. Okay, the next one. Okay, this is Ye Old Fighting Cocks, St Albans, England's oldest pub legend. Now, in the cathedral city of St Albans lies a storied tavern, often touted as the oldest pub in England. Ye Old Fighting Cocks claims an origin as far back as 793 AD. And while the exact date is debated, there's no denying the pub's venerable age and unique character. The building itself has an odd optical octagonal shape. It was originally a medieval pitching house or a dovecote, and it's built in the 11th century, later converted into an alehouse. Over time, the structure was moved and rebuilt a short distance from St. Albans Abbey, now a cathedral. After the dissolution of the monasteries, today, this Grade 2 listed pub sits by the River Ver, with low timber beams and cosy alcoves that exude medieval charm. Its name, Fighting Cocks, comes from the historic sport of cockfighting, which took place here in the 19th century. The pub even has a small pit area where the cocks once sparred. The prefix "ye old" was added in Victorian times to emphasise its antiquity, and locals often called it simply the Cocks. Oh, this one. Okay. So the Skirrid Mountain Inn. Okay, this is Wales. So it's a medieval tavern with ghostly legends. It's tucked in the Welsh countryside near Abergavenny. Now, the Skirrid Mountain Inlay claims to be Wales' oldest pub, with roots allegedly stretching over 900 years. Documents suggest an inn on this site as early as the year 1110, through the current stone building mainly dates back to the 17th century. So the pub comes from the nearby Skirrid Mountain, which, according to myth, cracked in two at the moment of Jesus' crucifixion. Well, the small village inn looks very bit the part of an old coaching stop. White plastered walls, dark wooden ceiling beams, and large hearth. Yet beneath the quarrant charm lies a dramatic, eerie history, one that has earned the Skirrid Inn a reputation as the most haunted pub in Wales. Now, the Skirrid Inn's backstory is a heady mix of rebellion, punishment, and paranormal activity. Local legend holds that the inn served as a rallying point for supporters of the 15th century Welsh hero Owain Glyndwr, who led the revolt against the English rule. It's said that Glyndwr himself met his men here before riding off to battle, giving the pub a patriotic folklore status. Later in the 1600s, an upper room of the inn was supposedly used as a courtroom by the notorious hanging judge George Jeffreys, and those convicted of crimes met a grim fate. According to the legend, up to 180 people were hanged from an oak beam over the staircase inside the inn for offences ranging from sheep stealing to treason. Chillingly, the staircase still bears what are claimed to be rope marks from these executions. With such a blood history, it's no wonder that many ghosts are said to linger. Yeah, it does. It does. Still a beautiful pub, though, Suzanne. Okay. Now we're going to go to Edinburgh. It's the Sheephead Inn. Now, this is Scotland's oldest pub with royal connections. In the historic Duddingston village of Edinburgh stands the Sheephead Inn, widely acclaimed as Scotland's oldest surviving pub. Tradition holds that the inn has operated on this site since 1360, which, if accurate, makes it perhaps the oldest pub in Edinburgh. Tucked down a lane near Arthur's Seat at Duddington's Lock, the Sheephead has the look of a classic country inn, a rambling 18th century building with stone walls and a cosy interior of low beams and candlelit corners. The pub's curious name, Sheep's Head, has a tasty origin. It refers to the local delicacy of boiled sheep's head broth. Once popular here, however, another story attributes the name to a rather extravagant gift. King James VI of Scotland, who was later James I of England, was so delighted with the hospitality here that in 1580 he presented the landlord with an ornate sheep's head snuff box. Encrusted with silver, the royal gift is displayed behind the bar to this day, cementing the pub's connection to the Scottish royalty. How you doing, Kid Rock? Good to see you. Now, notable patrons over the centuries, the Sheep's Head Inn has become an impressive roster of guests. It is said that Mary, Queen of Scots herself visited, likely stopping in here on the way to or from nearby Holyrood Place. Her son, King James VI, definitely visited often. The inn lies along the route between his residencies of Craigmillar and Craigmillar Castle and Holyrood, and would pause to refresh or enjoy a game of skittles in the yard. As mentioned, James's gratitude for good service resulted in the famous Ram's Head snuff box gift. In later years, greats have been associated with the pub. Robert Burns, Scotland's national poet, and Sir Walter Scott were both familiar with it. More modern visitors included Queen Elizabeth II, who reportedly had a pub lunch here in the 20th century, and even American singer Kelly Clarkson, proving the sheep's head's appeal spans continents. Few pubs can boast patronage from medieval monarchs to contemporary celebrities. Okay, and this one is, we're going to Northern Ireland, Belfast, the Crown Liquor Saloon. So, now the Crown Liquor Saloon, often called the Crown, this pub is less ancient than the others on our list, but equally legendary for its architectural grandeur and cultural significance. It was established around 1849, originally named the Railway Tavern, and then extravagantly refurbished in 1885 into the glorious Gym Palace we see today. Stepping inside the Crown is like stepping inside a Victorian time capsule. Every surface is lavishly decorated. The exterior is titled with polychromatic mosaics, including a glided crown motif at the entrance, and the interior gleams with stained glass and carved mahogany woodwork and Italian ceramic tiles from floor to ceiling. Gaslit lanterns cast a warm glow on the highly ornate ceilings and along the long oak bar with an antique heated footrest for patrons. 10 wooden stugs, which are private booths, line on the one side of the bar, each with a door, etched glass windows, and old-fashioned bell pushes to call for service. The pub's opulence reflects the 19th century room in Belfast. Say it's truly a jewel of the Victorian pubs, now proudly owned by the National Trust for Preservation. Now, the Crown has been beloved haunt of the Belfast locals and visitors over the centuries. Now, it's said that during World War II, American GIs on leave mingled with Belfast residents here under the gaslights. Over the years, the pub's unique ambience has attracted writers, artists, and even politicians. Famed poet Sir John Betjeman once described the Crown as one of the great bar rooms of the world and was instrumental in advocating for its preservation in the 1970s. Now, where we go? We are now going back to London. The Lamb and Flag. Yep, the Lamb and Flag. It's in Covent Garden Alley. The Lamb and Flag is a beloved London pub that combines literary connections with the gritty history, and it's operated on this Rose Street since at least 1772, but parts of the building possibly date back to the late 1600s. In the early 19th century, the Lamb and Flag earned the nickname the Bucket of Blood because of the brutal bare-knuckle boxing matches once held upstairs in the upstairs room. Thankfully, those rowdy days are long past, and today this small wooden panel pub is known for its warm atmosphere and excellent ales. It's a Grade 2 listed building and retains Victorian-era fixtures, including a historic bar, counter, and some original partitions inside. The walls are adorned with portraits and newspaper clippings, hinting of the pub's colourful story. Despite its location in the heart of London, the Lamb Flag feels like it's a hidden gem. It still carries the air of the 19th century tavern where artists, writers, and working folk converged over a pint. Now, the Lamb and Flag, Charles Dickens loves getting about. Yes, this was his most famous and regular one in the mid-19th century. Dickens, who lived and worked in London, was known to frequent many pubs, and he favoured this one enough that it's mentioned in local law as a spot where he drank. Now, another intriguing episode obviously involves John Dryden, a Restoration era poet. In 1679, Dryden was reportedly ambushed in the alley just outside by hired thugs, supposedly over a satirical poem he wrote offending a nobleman. A plaque on the pub commemorates the attack. At the time, Dryden's scuffle An earlier tavern stood here, then called the Cooper Arms, but the tower adds that the Lamb and Flags legend, given its longevity, plenty of other notables have raised glasses in here too. It's a near theatreland, so one images actors and playwrights popping in after the show over the centuries. Okay, and thank you. Right, let's stop sharing. Okay. Okay, right. Good stuff. So, see, I mentioned there. Now, what I'd like to do is just quickly, I'm going to cover infamous pubs. Most notably, the Blind Beggar in Whitechapel. Okay. This was infamous for Ronnie Cray shooting gangland rival George Cornell in 1966. We also had the 10 Bells in Spitalfields as a hangout for Victorian prostitutes, including the victims of Jack the Ripper. The Star Tavern in Belgravia, known as a planning spot for the 1963 Great Train robbery. Now, I have mentioned the Spaniards Inn, a 16th century pub frequented by highwaymen. And also we had the French House Soho, famous for its hard drinking patrons, including Dylan Thomas. As I said, the Lamb and Flag, the Bucket of Blood for its bare knuckles. The Magdala in Hampstead. Now this is in London again, with the site where Ruth Ellis, the last woman hanged in Britain, shot her lover in 1955. We have the Hawley Arms in Camden, famously frequented by Amy Winehouse. We know that pop star, obviously, as she died, sadly, of drug and alcohol overdose. So I just want to now touch on one more thing, is about etiquette. So the do's and don'ts for first timers. If you're visiting from overseas and you step into a British pub for the first time, it's not unusual to feel a twinge of uncertainty about unspoken rules of the great British pub game. So if you've only ever seen depictions of British pubs on TV or in movies, you might be wondering what's waiting for you on the other side of the bar or the lounge. Well, here we go. I'm just going to take this little time just to stop here.
Oh well, must mingle. Charmed.
Yeah, that's where I got a GC.
Oh, yeah? You see a doctor about it? You probably got some germs in the cut, you see.
Oh, George Cross.
Oh, it was him, was it? Well, you should have known better, mate.
And what did you do during the war, Spud Gun?
Nothing really, I was unemployed.
Oh, that's very convenient, isn't it?
It is actually, I live round the corner from the dole office.
That's not what I meant, and you know it. I spilt blood for the likes of you. My appendix are up there on the top of Mount William.
For what? For a few farmers and a flock of penguins, and to secure another term of office for that Margaret Thatcher.
Oh, a bullshit, eh? A pink O. Interesting, isn't it? Interesting. The way that you women never muck in when it comes down to a scrap.
Interesting in what way?
Well, it's interesting because A, I said it and anything I say is interesting per se, and B, well, there isn't a B because the A was so great.
Right. How you doing, Paulie? Good to see you, my man. Okay, the bar versus the lounge. Okay, when you're entering a pub, maybe be a lady presented with a choice to head to the door-marked bar or through the marked lounge. Don't worry. Whichever you choose, it's determined by why you're visiting. Just to let you know what they both mean. The bar, if part of the pub is for drinking, simple as that. And maybe you'll find someone standing or sitting at the bar having a quick pint. Maybe there'll be some small tables and chairs around them with beer mats. But whatever the case, if you're there for a drink, go through the bar door. Now, the lounge, as the man suggests, it's a bit more relaxed space where you can sit, relax, order some food. Of course, you can still order drinks. But if you're going to linger a little longer than one drink, you might want to grab a bite to eat and head to the lounge. How you doing, G. Cicelli? Good to see you, my man. things have changed now because there used to be, you used to have like the lounge bar and the saloon bar. So the saloon bar, it used to be where generally if people are popping in from work, you'll go there for a drink. Now the lounge bar would be on the other side. It'll be nicer seats. It'll be somewhere you can sit down and something to eat. You might bring your wife or your girlfriend or whoever. You might have a family meal there. And what used to be as well is that the price of the beer or the drinks used to be a little bit more expensive, but that's not so much the case today. So another thing as well is the art of queuing. Now, the first things first now, we're renowned for our love of queuing, and pubs are no exception. But there's a twist because there's no physical line at the bar. It's an invisible queue, a dance of politeness where everyone knows their turn, and the golden rule, patience. Don't worry if the bartender doesn't acknowledge you immediately. They've got an uncanny knack for knowing who's next. Trust in the process, and you'll soon be savouring that first sip. Yeah. Okay, round and round we go. So the round system. So if you mishear someone in a British pub saying, "You're round," while gesturing at you, don't worry. They're saying you're round, not making some comment about how rotated you may or may not be. So for clarity, let's talk rounds in a pub context. In a British pub, there's a beautiful tradition of buying drinks in rounds. Essentially, each person in the group takes turn to buy a round for everyone else. It's a practice that fosters a camaraderie and ensures that no one is left glass half empty. But remember, once you're in, you're in. Skipping out your round is a faux pas and won't go unnoticed. Now, a shut-in after hours or lock-in was the best about pub life, absolutely. It's all changed now, Paulie. Now, to tip or not to tip? Now, do you tip at a British pub? Well, it's not customary like in some countries, like in the US, but it's always appreciated. Service charges now are generally added, but that's more for food when you're eating, and added to bills automatically. And it was unheard of in the UK for a long time, but obviously it's more of a commonplace now inside pubs, bars, and especially restaurants. But this isn't universally the case. So if you receive exceptional service or if you're feeling generous, go ahead. Just remember, it's done subtly. No grand gestures needed. So I want to take this opportunity now just to thank everyone for listening to me. Does anyone have any questions? If anyone wants to put any questions in the chat, I'm more than gladly go through. I have dropped a link. If anyone wants to come up, I'll be honest with you, I'll have to come up. Won't be too long though. I want to try and keep this to an hour. But if you want to join up. No tips, crew meal. You only tip for if you were eating, not for drinks. So, Kid Rock, you gonna pop up or any questions? What's he put? Hey, Paul, used to go to a bar that was open 24 hours a day. Yeah. 24-hour drinking, no, it's not. Here we go. Hello, Tommy. Hello, Tommy Sticks. Hello, sir.
Am I on the panel now?
You are on the panel. You are in the show.
I got a question for you.
Go on.
Tipping. So tipping is not mandatory. Well, it isn't anywhere. But it's is it a common thing or a non-common thing? You see, the reason I ask that is because the bartenders here, they don't get paid very well, and they depend on tips. So their pay is basically service oriented.
That's right. That's why we actually pay our bar staff wages, the pub owners, so they get a proper wage. Whereas obviously Whereas obviously you're in the US. they weren't they were driven on tips. Tips is what made their wages. They weren't paid properly. I know things have probably started to change now, but
Not really. Not
no.
really. No, they're still getting no, they're still getting a
They get a salary then, or is it minimum?
they're getting a minimum pay, not sure what it is, but they're getting a minimum pay, and it is all hustle oriented what they make. If they are good, they're going to get good tips.
Gotcha. See, I'm a little,
And that means they're going to get good pay. So it's interesting.
I'm a little bit like this, Tommy. If I go to the bar, right,
Mhm.
and I go and I pay for a drink, and they go like that, or they get a bottle from the fridge and they kick the cap off, I don't really. For me, it's not really. I don't think we should tip.
It's okay. That's a personal opinion. I differ.
Yeah.
I disagree with that, but that doesn't mean you're wrong.
Whereas,
You know what I mean?
whereas, obviously, when you're having food, they're bringing out the food. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot more effort that sort of goes into it. That's just sort of my standpoint.
Well, no, not
No?
really, because think about this. The food is prepared by somebody else and it's just taken to the table by the waiter or the waitress. The bartender actually has to work to make your cocktail.
Well, yeah, do you know what? That's which is fair. To be fair, if you're making a cocktail, that's different to taking a Bud Light out of the fridge and going click in it.
Yeah.
Hello, Kid Rock.
Hey, kid.
Hey, what's going on? Hey, Tommy, what's going on?
What's up, buddy? How are you, my man?
All right. Yeah, like bars, like bartenders, like usually you get like 50, 60, 75 bucks for a shift. And then they would base that on, and then tips. Right, Tommy?
Yeah, and they also, yeah. That's how it is. So they get a fixed rate or a fixed hourly, and then they got to break their asses to make those tips. That's what it is.
Where I was from, it was just a fixed rate. And then you would get, and like I said, the better you, like, if you tip all the time, you get better service, like for drinks, and
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Interesting. It's interesting.
See, I mean, the thing is as well. Well, obviously, a tip as well used to be discretionary, right? If you didn't get the service, you wouldn't pay the tip. Now, what they're doing now is a lot of things are changing where a lot of places are charging an automatic service charge for your meal. So they might turn around and say, right, it's a default, we charge 15%, and that gets added onto the bill.
Right.
Now, if you have really bad service, you can obviously ask for that to be removed. But I think a lot of it is because people weren't tipping right. They were obviously not tipping or not tipping correctly. The only thing that I will say, putting a mandatory thing on is those they lose those tips where people used to overpay because people go, oh, it's on the bill now. So they just take the 15%, whereas they might have got a lot more money,
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of works that. And the only other thing I don't like about where they put the percentage on is not all the staff in all the places see that money. Like there's been some real mean, like wealthy, like chefs who've had a chain of restaurants and they've kept the tips.
Unbelievable.
Which is
like I think I said this on Tommy, which I think it was a while back. Subway, the sandwich place.
Yeah.
They would charge you like your fee to hand you the bag. I mean, come on, that's ridiculous. I'm not paying it, right? I mean, they make the thing, whatever it is. Let's say it's $12, whatever, and then whatever. They want a tip for handing you the bag.
Yeah.
It's not like you're not even sitting down. You're leaving it, taking the bag.
They're making you do it, or they're just leaving a tip cup on the counter.
No, they put it like in like the part of your bill, and then if you don't see nothing, I seen it because I was like surfing a long time ago, and then some people were like, like when you do with a credit card or a debit card, and they looked at the bills like, what is this shit? And they didn't even realize they did it, but then they said it, and then people were saying, how like it goes on Facebook and all that, and then people were looking at their bills, they're like, what the hell is this? You're handing me a bag. You're charging me $4 to hand me a bag.
That's right.
Like $12 or whatever. I mean, it's one thing if you're like eating there. I mean, not, what I mean. If you're getting served, not at fast food, like at a diner or something, you got to tip. because those girls ain't making nothing, right? And it's a hard job being like 10, 12 hours on your feet. And then you know, and plus, Tommy, you know that you need to keep like 20. Like I do 20%. 18. You know, I just rounded out to 20. And but it's got, you know what I mean. But if you don't, I mean, if you don't tip, I don't like do that. You know what I mean? I don't. And then if it was bad service, you know you better not come back because you know what they do, Tommy, right? They remove you and they gonna mess with your damn food.
Yeah, don't
And,
send anything back. No. Never send something back.
Yeah, no, but I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's like, yeah, if you cause a scene and shit, there's no way I would come back into a restaurant, that restaurant. It
You
doesn't,
see-
because people remember that.
See, somewhere like see, this is different in the UK because Subway would be seen as the same as a McDonald's or Burger King, and we've never, ever tipped it. Never tipped at any of them.
Okay, I get it.
Not the
Oh, the
fast
bill
food.
came in the bill though, James. Like the bill this year was like $12 and then tax, like $14. They were adding another $4 to your like when you swiped, like if you use a debit card, and the people didn't realize it, and then when they looked at the shit, it's like $18. What the hell is this? It was like 12 and then tax. It's like 14 or whatever. Like and it says surcharge. We're handing you the bag of food.
Wow,
That's crazy.
That is wrong.
Right. And then even with the see the thing, it was even like Starbucks was doing that.
Yeah.
And they would show you this thing, like they would have like some kind of phone thing. They would have like an order thing, and while you're waiting, the person at the desk would or at the cashier's things here. They shove this thing in your face. How much you want to give as a tip while you wait while you're waiting for your thing, and they're like right in your and like they're shoving this thing in your face, and they're like, here, put whatever you want to give us.
yeah,
Extra.
it's like putting you on the spot,
Yeah.
making you sort of crumble and give a tip, isn't it? It's not right to do.
And then the round thing, James. We do that here. That's normal.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? What,
Buying
rounding out
around.
the tip?
Yeah, buying around. Yeah.
No, yeah, right. Yeah, you got to do that. You know what I mean? Right.
Yeah,
you
we
know,
do that.
you do that, and then somebody gives it back to you.
Yeah, that's the same here. There's no change. That we do that same thing there, James.
Yeah. I'm sure it's pretty the same for a lot of certainly Western countries or English speaking as well. It's just I think that what I was reading off is there's a lot of other people that come to visit the UK from all over the world, and they might not be used to that. So
Right.
Well, James, on a different subject, but we were talking about the bars and stuff. I remember in '98, I was in Chicago, and me and my friends, we went to the Cubs games, and he was a caterer, so he knew a lot of big wig, and he did a lot of big wig people like for catering and stuff. He said, I know this place to go to, and the Cubs were getting killed, like you know, and everything. And we went to this bar, and it was actually a bar that was in Ireland. They took a whole wood, everything from that bar, and put it into this bar in Chicago.
wow.
So everything by the wood and everything. I don't know what it was a long time, '98 maybe. Yeah, because I remember it was Kerry Wood's rookie season, so I think it was '98. But it was cool. And then he goes, I'm gonna take you to this cool bar. I go, okay. And me and a couple friends, and we went there, and then he was telling us, and it was just looked like it was so cool. It was like dim lighted, and it showed like special photos and stuff, but it had the actual wood, the bar, the wood floors, everything was from the actual bar.
So I'll tell you what, one of the best bars that I've been to my favourite in the US is in New York, and it's called Lily's Victorian. And you go in there, and it takes you back in time, and it's got like proper all the old Victorian architecture. It's got stained glass window at the back.
Where's that? Where's that?
It's in Manhattan.
Okay.
So it's where I can't think where. I'll tell you if I told you 249 West 49th Street, does that mean anything?
Sure, I know where. Yeah, that's 49th. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that's it.
That's Midtown. That's Midtown.
Yeah. So I went the first time when I visited in 2017. I went there, and that's what I like. I like because you've got the history of these places. They've got the feel and the architecture from that time, you know, and it's got character.
It's wow. See, that's so.
Hold on, guys. Sorry, chat. I can't see the. I can't
Yeah, I
see
can't
you guys.
either. I can't see the chat. I'm sorry if they're chatting.
James,
Well,
go ahead.
If
You're
I
good.
put it on the screen, you should see the chat on the screen now.
Oh yeah, right. I'll never be able to make
I
that.
don't see. Okay, I see that, but it's like very. Yeah, my
Yeah.
eyes ain't being right.
Yeah, we're not young. We're not young folks here.
Yeah.
If you can't read it, I'll take it off.
It's okay. Yeah,
I
I
mean,
can't. It's
yeah,
okay.
that's not let the chat know. I usually interact with them. I just can't see it.
There's a couple of questions. Here we go. Crew Bell says, we had a tip jar at any bar or restaurant I worked at, and at the end of the night, it got split equally among all personnel, and the bar owner had a tip guaranteed in place. Okay.
Interesting.
Oh yeah,
So-
right. I heard stories though that they have a tip jar, and the owner takes the money. I mean, you heard this, Tommy.
Yeah,
right?
of course. Terrible.
You know, you take that, and it's like, even especially like if it's a debit card, like tip. Like, just say your bill was $100, you and your girlfriend or whatever.
Yeah.
You get $100 and you throw it on what, $25 or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll say $25, and it was on the debit card. So you did 125. They would keep the money, the owner. That's
Right.
crazy.
So I try to do cash with the tip, even if I have to use a debit card or a credit card for the bill.
Right.
I try to cash tip the waiter or waitress.
You know they're
And
getting
I always ask them, are you pooling or is this to you? Because what they do now in a lot of the bars and restaurants is they have a pool. They no longer get, this is not okay. I'm not okay with this. A lot of places no longer get the tip to the specific server. It goes into a bucket, and at the end of the night, all the servers split it up. Now that could work out well for some, but if you got a lazy individual, that can be a problem.
Yeah. You gotta hustle. You know, Tommy, when you're like a waiter or waitress, you gotta hustle. And it's like, it gets hectic. And you gotta get money.
Yeah, you're gonna hustle more if you're getting the cash tip for that table that you've been working on all night.
Exactly. This is what I do like about the tip system, in the sense is that the person serving you puts in the extra. Like the waitress will come to work. She'll be looking nice. She'll be looking to smile all the time. Looking to maybe go that little extra mile just to get you what you want. Yeah. Whereas I think if you take that out, then you lose that. You'll lose that, and that's that's not what you want.
Yeah, but waiters and waitresses, they don't forget. If you like spend $100 and you just don't leave them nothing, and you come back, I mean,
they know.
I think so. Oh no, I thought you said they don't. Oh yeah, right.
No, they know. They know for sure.
Yeah, that's their sticks. They remember. Oh, this asshole.
They know. Absolutely, they know.
If you guys serve good, like I said, I rounded up to 20. I don't do that bullshit down to the nickel and dime. I just round it up to 20%.
Yeah, it depends. I might go more depending on the service.
Oh, yeah, right.
Sometimes, and they might just say they have desserts on them or coffee is on them. You got to give a little more. Here, an example. Today, I went out. I had to go for lunch somewhere today, and they wouldn't let me pay. The establishment wouldn't let me pay. So I had lunch. 2 people had lunch, 2 drinks, brunch or lunch, and they wouldn't let me pay. So I gave the waiter a beautiful tip. So.
Oh yeah, right. That's the way to do it for sure.
Well, so the waiter appreciates the establishment, and the waiter appreciates the customer. He wins both ways.
Right. Well, you gotta treat your people right. You know that, Tommy.
Yeah.
Like if you work in a bar or a restaurant, they're the people who from that's hard work. Yeah. Be on your feet for 10 hours, and then you got to run into some idiots. I mean, there's always someone in the crowd, like at a restaurant.
So
you know
James,
what I mean?
Yeah, James. I don't know if you touched on this, but what's the age to drink over there in the pubs? I don't know if you said it. I may have missed it.
Tommy, sorry. The age to drink alcohol is 18.
It is 18.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yours is 21, isn't it?
21, it was
21.
18 and 19 for a little while. And what happened was, so there was, so the lowering the age to drink here was based on lobbies from the alcohol companies and the bar owners, because what happened was when they made it to 18, they were opening up taverns on college campuses, and it was a disaster. It ended up
Yeah.
being a disaster.
I didn't hear that, but okay.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
makes sense. You can't. 8 years old, I was going crazy.
18,
You
they
know what I
were
mean?
walking in bars, 18, 19, and they were getting served, and it didn't turn out well for the campuses.
That's why they all go across at spring break, don't they? Because the age is lower in Mexico, isn't it?
I don't know what the age is, but
Um,
yeah.
when I was in Mexico, I was they carded me, but I was over 21.
Yeah, I was
Well, I think
26 last time I was there.
Yeah,
I mean, that 21 was a long time ago, James. But
Yeah. Me too. Yes.
smart. I
but
mean,
yeah, I went to a strip club, so I don't know. But yeah, you could do anything over there. It doesn't really matter. I think if you're 18 in Mexico and you got money, they'll let you in. I would
James,
think.
James, has it always been 18? Is that forever?
It's always been 18. Yes, it was 16 to smoke. Now it's 18 to smoke. So
Oh,
Wow.
smoking.
I think it's pretty legal to smoke now. Right, Tommy?
I don't know. They don't bother anybody for smoking. Kids are not. Wow.
Hindu.
Wow. Really? Seriously? Huh? You had a smoking age forever for
16.
Used to be 16.
16.
It was when I was 16, I could smoke, but they've changed it now. So it's 16 for smoking, 17 to get a driving license, 18 to drink.
Oh wow.
wow. That's never heard of these. That's great. That's crazy.
Yeah,
Wow. For
yeah,
us, it sounds crazy. I smoked when I was probably 13. I guess I started
yeah,
smoking at 14. I don't know.
The only thing that used to bother me, especially I had it a couple of times in Las Vegas, right? I think is that I looked blatantly well over the age of 21, and they would still ask me for ID.
Mhm.
In certain
Well, I think
places.
that's for liability reasons.
Yeah, I know. It's I get that, but sometimes you got to, for guys, he looks 50. Do you really have
Oh,
to be
yeah.
big,
Yeah, this is interesting. All right, I'm gonna get off, guys. James, this is good. Good show. Good, interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Tommy.
Thank
I'll see you.
All right, Kid Rock. Good being on the panel with you, James. Good show.
Yeah,
I'll
you
talk
too,
to you
man.
later, buddy. Yep.
Thank you.
All right.
Yep.
I'm going to wrap the show up.
Okay, great. So hey, hold on. Everyone in the chat, I can't see you, but everyone have a good weekend and safe week. And I'll catch you when I see you. James, as always, thank you for your time, and thank you for having me on your platform.
No problem.
You have a good one. You be safe, okay?
Brilliant. Thank you.
Okay, you have a good one, buddy. Have a good night.
Bye. Right. So I was going to say big thank you to Tommy and Kid Rock coming up there at the end. And I just want to, as I always do, I'd like to say thank you to Sweet Tea, Adam Cavoursier, Suzanne, Tommy, Janie, Maureen, who else we got? Crewmel, excellent, and Tindu as well. That was brilliant. Mr. Cicelli. Yeah, it was great seeing you, sir. Good to see and hear from you. Thank you. I want to wish everybody out there a lovely evening. As you appreciate, it's come up to 2011 in the UK, but enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Thank you.